Hello again, it's good to be back. Allow me first of all to say thank you to the Voiceover Workshop for the invitation, for having me back. I've been given as my topic today, what's your long-term plan, knowing how to stay relevant as a voiceover talent? In case you don't know who I am, I'll share a bit about my background, but first, let me play you a recent job that I've voiced.
We are a million shades of green. We are a million shades of green. Green from heights that inspire our thunder. Green from the place that sparked our freedom. Green from our homegrown food. Green from the places that lead us to victory. Green from places that ignite our passion. Green is the color of our hope, of our pride. Green from the moments that bring us together. We are bringing all our greens together for Mossy's new look. Our Mossy, our green.
So that was a job for Mossy, one of Zambia's favorite beer brands, one that I grew up loving and enjoying before I became a tea fella. Well, hope you're taking notes. I might say something profound as we continue today, so I do hope you're taking notes. So who I am. My name is Chilu Lemba. I'm a Zambian entrepreneur based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I trade in voiceover services. Now, that might sound strange to you right now, but I'll come back to that. I'm considered a voiceover veteran because I've been in the business for about 25 years. I'm an author. I've written a memoir, which is titled Finding My Voice. I'm also a podcast host. My new podcast is called The VO Plug. You can check it out. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So let's unpack this topic. What's your long-term plan as a voiceover artist? Now, talking about future plans is kind of touchy because we don't know what tomorrow holds. And I remember a comedian was asked the question, what would you like people to say about you after 100 years? And his reply was, well, I hope they say he looks pretty good for his age. That's a terrible dad joke. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But let me start by telling you about my long-term plans. So I'm 45 years old now, and I think my long-term plan needs to include me winding down in a sense. So can you guess what my long-term plan is? Is it being a voice in a global blockbuster like The Lion King 4? Is it starting a voiceover or casting agency? Is it owning a high-tech voiceover studio? The answer to all those is no. Here's my plan. Currently, it's to make as much money as possible so that I can finish the projects that I have, some of which will allow me to quit voiceover because then they'll start making income that will match my present earnings. Does that surprise you? Does that surprise you? A younger version of me definitely would have been surprised by that answer. My former boss, for example, who was my mentor as well, Mr. Errol Hickey, he owned a radio station where I worked at. He was a successful businessman, successful voiceover artist, and at some point in his life, he wasn't so passionate about voiceover, and I always found that confusing. But now, I realize that yes, there are things in life that I love more than voiceover. Traveling, for example, organizing events, writing, making music, doing podcasts, and some things I'm probably yet to discover. But I don't have time at the moment. My email is full of scripts and scripts and scripts. Basically, I don't want to be in a Mel Blanc situation. Now, what is a Mel Blanc situation? That photo that you're looking at on your screen right now, that is a photo of the legendary Mel Blanc, who was the voice of Bugs Bunny and Tweety Bird and apparently more than 1,000 characters. These photos are from his bedside as he was recovering from a terrible car accident, recording VO from your bed as you recover from a terrible accident, that is not my portion. So that's my goal, to take it easier from VO, because right now I'm very busy, so I can't do too many other things. But let me try and help you, because my situation is different to most. Some people's goal is to be as busy as I am right now. So let's try and work backwards to help you understand and give you some insight into how I got myself into this mess. Call it a mess. So a goal that you should not pursue is being the number one voice artist. And I hear people saying, stuff like Chilu's voiceover, number one voiceover artist. It's a flimsy aspiration. There's no such thing, first of all, as the number one voiceover artist. There's no such thing. It's a fallacy. I mean, how do you measure number one? Is it in the earnings? And how do you know what everyone else is earning? Is it the quality of the voice? That's immeasurable. Are we talking about number one in a specific genre? Because remember the different genres of voiceover. So if your goal is to be number one, that doesn't help anyone. That doesn't help you. So have realistic goals. I'll use examples from the ones I shared earlier on. If your goal is to be in a blockbuster movie, then what you need to be doing right now is learn about the industry in the US particularly at every chance that you get. Don't just watch those behind the scenes of guys doing animated voiceovers in movies and thinking, aha, I'm ready. No. Go online, find out who the casting directors are, who put people in Disney movies or whatever. Engage a coach that specializes in drama or animation. Perhaps enroll in acting classes. Find out whether you can do these VOs from Africa using tech like Source Connect to supply services to Hollywood studios. Investigate whether you have to move to the US. Basically, what I'm saying is do your research. Or you can check out the opportunities that exist in your neck of the woods, which is, I think, a better thing to do. In my situation, a friend of mine once said to me, he said, I know you're busy because there are times when I hear you a lot on radio and TV and I realize you're busy. What he doesn't realize, what most people don't, is that I make the most money each year from work that is never seen on TV, never heard on radio. Work such as telephone on hold messages, narration for corporate videos, training and e-learning videos, company inductions, stuff like that. Radio and TV ads are just part of the voiceover opportunities that are out there. So in short, have realistic goals. Find out what's happening in your neck of the woods and do that rather. Number two, is your goal starting a casting agency? As I mentioned earlier on, if it is, then perhaps find a retired casting person or an owner of an agency in a different region and then pay them money to consult. If you're weak at admin and doing contracts, etc., don't even consider that dream unless you're partnering with someone that's good at admin. I could go on giving you examples, but the bottom line is you're better off setting yourself realistic goals. Now, if you notice, up until now, thus far, especially what I said in my introduction, remember I said I trade in voiceover services. Most of the thoughts that I've shared revolve around this. Do you want to make money or do you want to be popular? Because you can do both, but I probably need to recenter you. Voiceover is a business. It's a big business, but it is a business. Whatever practices apply to business in general, that's what you need to apply to voiceover. So forget about the sexy side, the influencer type photos on Instagram of us in fancy studios with expensive microphones and expensive headphones. Those are cool, but we're not here to just have fun. Voiceover is about billing, invoicing, negotiating, following up on payments, blocking bad customers on WhatsApp, networking, delivering quality work, etc. It's a business. Business practices apply. That's why I always talk about stuff like punctuality. Punctuality is important because if you're late for a recording, you're potentially losing your client money in studio time that they've paid for. That's bad business. If you are doing stuff like in the middle of a recording, taking a selfie or a video of yourself in the studio, you're not fully present in the session, and that's what you've been booked for. That's what you've been paid for. if you see a selfie of me, then it was either taken in my own studio, in my own time, or after a recording session at a different studio, but not during a session, because you have to be present. And that's why I also don't encourage stuff like once the recording session is over, you staying to start chatting with the sound engineer. Because yes, your session is done, your voiceover is done, but people still have to mix that ad. So get out of the studio. Your part is done, but theirs isn't. Voiceover is a business. In fact, what's happened, I think, to blur the lines of fun and business and stuff is social media. Social media has confused things a little. Some brands that we work for would rather that we be invisible. And we should respect that. It's not about us. It never is. We are the voices that lend our skills to advance the messages of businesses. And that becomes tricky terrain in as far as social media. I'll give you an example. So I joined TikTok. And within about a month, I did a video which amassed about 500,000 views. And that was a thing called the Voiceover Challenge. 500,000 views was good, yay. So I thought, let me do another original video. So I did one where I filmed myself in my own studio, recording an ad for one sports brand that I work with a lot, sports channel. And my idea was that I will show the before and the after. The before being me recording the voiceover, and the after showing the finished product. And my TikTok video looked amazing, and I was pretty sure the potential for that was way past 500,000 views. But I decided to check with the head of production at the channel, the same sports channel, and he consulted widely and then came back and asked me not to put it up. And I fully understand. It goes back to what I said earlier on. He sent me a text, he sent me a WhatsApp message, and he said, the biggest concern we have is backlash. If there had to be backlash, we wouldn't be able to control the PR behind it. What did he mean? Think about this. If there's a scandal around me as Chilu Lemba, the headline would then be, the voice of Channel X has been in a scandal. And all of a sudden, that channel or that brand has to start spending money to fix a situation because they're associated with me, because I publicly put it out there that I'm associated with them. And I mean, even yesterday, I was having a conversation with my wife, and I said this. I thought it was profound, but my wife sometimes will give me a side eye when I think I'm being profound, and maybe I'm not. But here's what I said to her. I said to her, me and other voiceover artists in general, we're like crayons used to draw a piece of art, but we are not the artwork. That's deep, right? Somebody text my wife and tell her that I said something deep. So all I'm saying is just tread carefully. Make sure you think before you post on social media. Back to my point, voiceover is a business. We are having fun, but we are not doing this for fun. Because voiceover is a business, if you want to make money, here's something else to think about. You need somebody on your team or in your corner whose goal it is to make money with you. I'm not that person, so if you're DMing me, you're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. I have no ambitions to own an agency. So spend time researching who can be the agent that represents you, because if you make $100 or $1,000, that agency will be laughing with you. So they'll be looking for opportunities for you. They'll do your admin, and ultimately they deserve a cut from your earnings because they've worked for it. Again, do your research, find out who the people are who can play that role in your life. So now, how can you be relevant as a voiceover artist? Be intentional about getting knowledge. The fact that you're here listening to me right now, that you're attending this conference, shows that you are being intentional. So congratulations to you. Then invest in studio gear or home studio equipment. Last year, South Africa had a nationwide lockdown imposed. So guess what? I had a home studio. So it was business as usual with me. The only difference was that I was wearing my pajamas more often when I recorded. But what you will buy specifically in terms of equipment will be dependent on you and what you research, but it must be gear that enables you to deliver quality audio. I have some world-class gear, but I didn't start off that way. If you're curious as to the gear that I'm running, I decided to see what the top tier artists in the States are using, and I invested in a similar setup. So I have a Neumann TLM 103 microphone, which is good for when you're doing corporate deep narration. That's very good. I have a Sennheiser 416 mic, which I use a lot for like sports promos, punchy recordings. And then I have an Apollo Twin sound interface. If you're starting out, you could get away with much more cost-effective gear. I mean, during lockdown, for example, I was using an Audio Technica 2035, which was linked to a Focusrite Scarlett Solo, which produced some fantastic results. The bottom line is you have to consider getting good gear and then learning the software. I'm sure there can be a whole masterclass about the tools that you can get and stuff like Source Connect, which I mentioned earlier on. I do have Source Connect. I rarely use it because most times what clients or producers want to do is join a session using Zoom or Microsoft Teams or even Skype or sometimes even WhatsApp. And you have to figure out technically how you'll configure your software to record you while at the same time allowing for your producer or your director to listen in. If you're intentional, then over time you will acquire these skills. I mean, for those of you who are technically advanced, can you believe that although I've been using Pro Tools since 2007, Pro Tools software, I only learned the punch in and out function and how to put markers in my session this year, like 2021, a few weeks ago actually. So over time, you will learn these things. Lastly, be present. Be fully present when you're doing your recordings. Lock into what the script in front of you is. Understand it as best as you can. Listen for what the vision of the director and the copywriter are, what the vision is that they had for the script, rather, and execute. Because if you keep doing your best with each session, word will go around that you're knocking these out and you'll get busy, you'll make money, and hopefully you'll meet your responsibilities and fund your dreams and give back. So the topic today for me was, what's your long-term plan? Knowing how to stay relevant as a voiceover talent, and I hope I've given you some things to think about. Thank you for the opportunity. Remember to check out my podcast, The VO Plug with Chilu Lemba. It's on all your favorite podcast platforms. Check me out on social media. The handle on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is @Chilu Lemba. That's my name. Peace and God bless.